history and how we got here. Martin, I know you were a past GWADA president early on. I know you helped kind of lobby and were engaged with when all this stuff was getting started. Why don't you kind of roll back and tell us what you remember from how this all came to be or how it got started?
Right. So we were talking about that history, and I think GWADA went through a period in the late 90s when it first got formed, and then went through this quiet phase, and then there was this really interesting project the PUD was working on, which was rolling out fiber. And I think a lot of people at the time questioned why the PUD was investing in this fiber network. What was that? What did that have to do with power? With providing power. And of course, in retrospect, we can see all the great benefits of having a fiber network now. But largely, GWADA's, I remember event after event that GWADA did, where we maybe had half the size of this audience, if even, where we were just trying to be advocates for the fiber network together with the PUD as to what we're trying to explain it to businesses and just consumers. What can you do with fiber? Why is fiber interesting? And it was like a lot of rolling of the eyes. At that time, people were using DSL and, God forbid, dial-up, right? And now we think it's a God-given right that we should have at least, right, 25 by 2. And we know what those terms mean when we say 20. And people, you'd say throw a term like that out, and people were like they had no idea what you were talking about. So it was really kind of, we felt like kind of bleeding edge, and to have a fiber network in a small rural, I guess I would classify Wenatchee still as a rural area, was very bleeding edge for the whole country of the United States really at the time. So we were really, I think it was fun to be able to be talking about what this could do for Wenatchee. And now, kind of in retrospect, see how things have changed over the last 15 years. And to that point, laughing about DSL speeds and dial-up speeds.
Exactly. So. It was cutting edge enough that we were educating about fiber being something that people didn't even know about.
Right. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about how the fibers maybe affected each of you, whether it's your business or maybe your employer in some cases. So why don't we kind of start, Chris? How has the fiber allowed you guys to do things that you wouldn't be able to do, for instance, if it wasn't in existence today?
So internally, we, since I think the early 90s, we actually have kind of our own little top secret GIS database where we keep track of every project that we've ever done. And we know graphically, it's a search tool for us. So if you call up and say, hey, I need some work done over here, we know what we've done in the area, and it helps us be more efficient. We host that internally to every office, and we can actually get to it remotely if we need to. And that was one of our first goals, plus connecting the offices. So the efficiencies it's created for us it's hard to fathom and work without those now.
So we can coin that as centralization of services.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, and how about for you, Ross? I know you've got a little bit different angle on that.
Yeah. You want to? I might also need a battery here for too long. My light went red. The biggest thing for my company is that they hired me to build a software team from scratch. And can you get to the mugshots one? It's the one with everybody.
Yep.
LocalTel, it's pretty cute. They have a advertisement and they show, I think it's 4 people on a conference call. Well, this or a video conference. The one that's coming here, I call it our mugshot. This is half my team that you'll be seeing in a second. I hope. There it is. That's what a typical video conference looks like for us. It's not 4, it's not 8. It's usually 12, 14, or 16. And hardly ever a burp. It just has worked really well for us. And it enables our remote team. We're very geographically distributed. You're looking at Denver, Washington, Jersey City, Tallahassee, Florida, some crazy place in Norway, and one guy's in India. It's just kind of mind-blowing.
I also love the guys in the jerseys. You don't see the pajamas quite, but
Yeah.
It also kind of changes the way that we actually approach work.
Yeah, I almost forgot to wear clothes here today. I mean, it kind of happened.
We're glad that you did.
Yeah, and there is one thing I need to throw in. There is a little one, and I think the title of it is "Damn You, Time Warner," and the reason that you can't hardly read that. Oh well. I just wanted to bring it up. Our network is so good that I rarely ever have problems at all, and typically my team members who are not so blessed post things like this. It's like my internet's down, it's local, and there's no word what's going on. And the great quote, I should have blown it up, was, "Damn you, Time Warner." And my apologies to any Time Warner employees here.
Right. That's an excellent comment. We do the same thing when you watch people drop on the other end. It's like, so sorry, wish you were here, kind of stuff, right? And for those that didn't catch that software was Zoom. It's a free. You can use it. It's a very good tool to utilize too. So maybe if we jump over to you, Martin, you can tell us a little bit about the competitive advantage maybe that the fiber gives you to, say, in a business that doesn't have it.
Well, and I think you just spoke to that a little bit. By having access to that high speed, you can really, sort of the world is your oyster, literally and figuratively, and that you can build a team. You have no borders anymore in terms of either your employees, the services you can access. And really, what I find interesting is that as I've provided services to some of my clients, it's amazing when we have this expectation now that that they'll have high-speed fiber, and there's still some little pockets here and there, even in our region, that don't have, for whatever reason, or didn't have it, or the access to the speeds they had weren't very high, and you immediately. It's almost like we take it for granted, and then when you don't have that, you're like, oh wait, that means you can't do these things. Mm-hmm. You can't go and well, maybe we could put some of your mail services on, out in the cloud, but you're going to have these hiccups and things like that. So it's almost, I think, in our particular area, it feels like the reverse to me. It's like, what can't you do if you don't have access to that, rather than the other way around anymore, because we've become so accustomed to it. So sometimes I have to change my thinking, and I sometimes even forget now when I go into a new prospective client's site to check their fiber speed.
You just assume.
I just assume. And occasionally that's gotten me into trouble because I assumed wrong. Or they're still on the lowest speed fiber, and I'm like, oh, we need to upgrade you. It's only $10 a month, and you'll know it's night and day. And they do. They know it's night and day difference. So,
All right, well, how about you, Mike? If you can kind of think of some ways that maybe your own organization is using the fiber to better reach clients or better do its job. Can you think of anything that maybe is a little creative that hasn't already been said on utilizing the fiber for that purpose?
I think the first thing I would say is it's absolutely fascinating for me to sit here and hear other people talk about the history and their perspectives and the use that they're making of it. And I'll go back a little bit towards the beginning. People wondered why the PUD was installing fiber to start with, but they really started installing it for their own business. The electrical utility requires a tremendous amount of communications and controlled circuits. And those circuits were moving more and more in the direction of fiber, so they were already starting to put fiber in for their own use. There was also a recognized need in the valley. At that point in time, one of the big terms was the digital divide, and nobody wanted to be on the wrong side of the digital divide. And that became a large topic within the county, and ultimately it led the PUD to the pilot, the trial, to try putting a network out there for the customer owners of the PUD to take advantage of. There was apparently quite a hubbub back in the 2000 to 2002 timeframe. The PUD, by statutory authority, can only provide wholesale services. But they made the decision to go ahead and do that. So they really created an opportunity, not only for the customer owners, but for many, many small businesses to take advantage of that. I'm sitting here looking at Andy Metcalf sitting here. who is one of the new service providers on the network. The ability of small businesses to take the asset that we provide through those wholesale services and put their services on top of it and provide it to our customer owners is a tremendous asset for the entire county. If you look at it from different perspectives, particularly the economic development perspective, a house in the county today that has fiber to it is worth more money than a house that doesn't have fiber. And that's also reflected in the tax rolls. You combine that with the ability to give entrepreneurs and businesses more capability, and you're driving up the economic value at every step. I'll also add that I'd like to pay some homage to the founders of the PUD and the foresight that they had. I know there were a lot of talk when the PUD was formed, and they not only bought one dam, they created another dam, plus bought a third one. And everybody wondered, what in the world are they going to do with all of that electrical capacity? Well, that foresight in having that capacity is what has made all of this possible. That foresight gave us these very, very economical power rates in the county. It's funded many of the public power benefits that we've provided to the customer owners. It's funded the fiber optic network. And so it turns out to be a win-win for everybody involved. The foresight of the founders and the leaders of the county that created this situation in this rural Washington County. And if you're a networking guy like I am, and you look at Chelan County, this is not an easy place to build and maintain a fiber optic network. You've got difficult terrain, you've got difficult weather, you've got low density. And so you've touched on all of the drivers, and yet we have the capability to do it. We're running a world-class network in Chelan County today.